Let's be clear at the onset, switching the water source to the Flint River was not the problem. The testing of it is fine. It's what happened thereafter. And many people involved in the situation say you had reason to know that there was problems with the water and you didn't act on those. You dismissed them.
There were problems right from the beginning, and let's be clear that there was a bait and switch with all of us here in Flint. We had a state-appointed emergency manager by Governor Snyder come in and take control of this city in December of 2011. And after City Council and I expressed support for a new water supply to Lake Huron, the emergency manager went behind closed doors with the State Department of Environmental Quality and decided to use the Flint River as an interim source, made the budget changes and put that in place. Now, once that happened, I was receiving reports from the Department of Environmental Quality and our city staff that the water was testing comparable with Detroit. That was what our community had used for so many years. But tragically, it's proved to be untrue. The State Department of Environmental Quality admitted in October that they did not properly enforce the Safe Drinking Water Act from the beginning.
Right.
So all the problems we were having throughout the months were all part of this underlying problem that wasn't identified until much later.
But residents say as early as May in 2014, they were giving reports. They were coming to your office, to the agencies of the city, and saying, this is wrong. June 12th, city officials reveal they're treating the water with lime in response to complaints. Right there, I think that ends the ability for plausible deniability. Once you knew you had to treat the water at all, why didn't you own what was clearly a problem, become outspoken, and get after it?
Yeah, well, in retrospect, I wish I would have done that. What I did, because I was getting skeptical of what was coming from the State Department of Environmental Quality, I was communicating with Dr. Susan Hedman at EPA Region 5, who you just mentioned, resigned. It was explained to me that the situation in Flint and the complaints, especially of Miss Leanne Walters so tragically, that that was under review by the EPA, and when a determination was made, that would be communicated to the Department of Environmental Quality, and then it would come to the city of Flint. And I'm learning, like everyone else, what was actually happening behind the scenes, through the emails, through other conversations with the state and the feds, and it was leaving this community betrayed and being poisoned.
But the rationale makes sense with a lot of things that happens in government, and certainly in Flint, you had problems. That's why there was an emergency manager there in the first place. There was seen as a need to circumvent local government to get things done. That's important to point out. But this was not a normal government situation. This was people coming forward and saying, this water is really strange. It's not just that my bus isn't on time and it's a bureaucratic problem. Your first quote was, I think people are wasting their precious money buying bottled water after the June 12th advisory. That is not somebody who says, well, I'm skeptical. That's not a skeptical thing. General Motors comes forward in October and says, hey, this is corroding our parts. We can't use it anymore. The city, that's you because you were mayor, arranges for the company to tap into a different water line, but tells the residents it's still okay for you. When you look back on making that decision, what did you get so wrong?
Well, I've taken responsibility and apologized for the decisions that I've made, but again, you have to be clear that the state-appointed emergency manager made that arrangement with General Motors.
Right, but you could have stepped up, Mr. Mayor. But I don't see any record of your voiced opposition. That's why I'm asking you to give you an opportunity to express it now. When General Motors said it's corroding our parts, what made you able to say, okay, I agree, it's probably still good for residents? How is something that rusts metal good for your mouth?
It was explained to me, and I've since seen further detail that particular issue had to do with a specific manufacturing process. Many companies use, filtration processes in their own plants. But look, I think all of this shows that from the beginning there were major problems. It wasn't regulated right. This community was betrayed. I was given bad information. I gave bad information to the rest of the community. And now we're at a point where we have to see the solutions come in place We need our community, our businesses, the state government, the federal government to all help address this problem.